And so tell me the misrepresentation of what of your positions that got you banned.
When I was able to co-host a show for 2.5 hours a couple weeks ago with Elon Musk on Spaces, that just the main show had 20 million views, over 100 million views of the clips, biggest Spaces that Elon's ever done. And I hear we're going to do another one soon. He was told by Tucker privately and others, hey, Alex was not deplatformed for Sandy Hook. He thought that. And he said on the air, he goes, no, I went to the log and I noticed it was for confronting Oliver Darcy, who had been taking my sponsors and getting me kicked off things and bragging about it. So I saw him in D.C. going in a committee hearing that they were talking about me at later. And I confronted him and said, man, you're an anti-American person. Well, they called that bullying, and that was the final strike that took me off of Twitter at the time. And so then it only made me bigger for a while. And so they now bragged about it once they won these court cases by rigging them. A PR firm put out press releases when they won the Connecticut case, the second one in November of last year, 2022, about to be 2 years ago, or 2 years back. And I didn't know what happened until later. So yeah, Sandy Hook happens. It's real. I think it happened. It's a terrible tragedy. School shootings, are real. A bunch of academics and people start looking at anomalies. It becomes this huge internet thing, hundreds of millions of views on YouTube. Other people covering it, the professors in Florida and Wisconsin and a school safety guy and a bunch of people. And it turned out some of the things they said were true. Some weren't. Turns out a couple of them are probably schizophrenic. And I simply covered it on a few shows, had callers call in. What they put in evidence was 22 minutes over 6 years. It was 6 years after it, 7 years after it, they sued me. I hadn't talked about it when they sued me for over 2 years, barely ever talked about it, but they cherry picked it. The PR firm put the clips out, ran it right as I was being right after I was deplatformed in 2018. Suddenly, it's like they were invading a country. The propaganda was in sometimes every newspaper, almost every day, Nightline, or that's already gone, PBS, CNN, every show. Ted Koppel did chime in on other shows, but it wasn't Nightline. Dan Rather, all of them come out against me. I mean, Old Guard, they had 60-minute shows about it. They had NBC Dateline shows about it. And they said he's currently going to their houses. He's currently sending people to their houses. He's currently urinating on graves. None of that ever was put in court. No one ever did any of that anyways. And so then they sue me for years to get all these depositions. We give them all the discovery. There's nothing there. And they go, you didn't give us everything. You're defaulted. So now we're going to have a trial on damages, but you're already guilty. And then the judges in both places wouldn't let us. They had my phone because we gave them the phones. When they go, oh, we hacked, he actually gave us his phone. No. We'd given them all my phones. The real reason the lawyers got sanctioned is with the phones, they accidentally just gave them all raw, and they gave them some of the Sandy Hook medical records from those depositions. So the lawyers did mess up, but they already had the phones. So I'd given them all the phones. How am I not giving them all my text messages, all my emails are getting defaulted, and then they have from my lawyers a whole phone? Okay? And so this is the type of crap. In the Perry Mason moment, they go, we got you, we got your phone, and you didn't give us the stuff. And I went, you got my phone because I gave it to my lawyers. And they're like, well, you gave us the raw phone, you son of a bitch. So I'm like, yeah, my lawyers messed up and did that. I had nothing to hide. I'm like, here's my 3 phones of the last 7 years. I kept them, take all the things off. And the best they got was my wife taking a dick pic of me that I never took a dick pic. And I'm like, look at I go, oh my God, my wife goes, remember that time you were asleep? I took a picture. And so they have a picture of my ding dong. So that's the type of weirdness that goes on. Then the PR firms, after they won, came out and said, and they got bought by the biggest PR firm in the country right after that they were already big out of New York.
Who were they?
And I forget the exact name. If you want, I'll Google it.
It's not the ones that try to do Rogan, is it? The scumbag Midas Touch, Misless Brothers. That's the ones who got that thing going at Rogan, the big N-word Spotify controversy because he mentioned ivermectin. That's those guys.
Yeah, I don't want to get into inside baseball because Joe's asked me not to, but let's just say you're hot. You're close.
I was just curious because I bet there's a couple.
There was a whole bunch of them. It was a whole bunch. I mean, I could search engine it. It has a particular name. They put out press releases when they, quote, won the case saying, hey, we brought his evil to the attention of the public in 2018. Then we got him sued, and now we're going to shut him down. So what they did is they went and cobbled together some stuff, blew it all up, exaggerated it times 100, and then, I mean, I had people in the grocery store going, listen, you son of a bitch, you stopped going to their houses. This is even like a year ago. And I'm like, I never went to their houses. I've never been to Connecticut. I've now since been there at the court case. I'm like, I didn't, no one ever went to their houses. No one peed on, there's no proof. They just get up on the stand. Listen to this. There was an FBI agent. I never said his name. Look this up. It was in court. They admitted it. Never said his name. No one ever covered it on my network at InfoWars. Didn't know who he was. The internet saw him with his gun pointing up the wrong direction, with a no FBI stuff on when he went in, and he is an FBI agent. And he sued me, saying because a few people called his office to see if he was real, that was his testimony, he got $95 million. I never said his name, didn't know who he was till he sued me. And then my lawyer goes, has Mr. Jones ever said your name? No. Well, what happened to you? And he goes, well, I had to take 6 hours of psychological stuff because one time a man called me at the office to see if I was really an FBI agent. $95 million. I mean, that is in the trial where I couldn't respond, and the judge gave us over 30 things I couldn't say. Couldn't say I was in bankruptcy. Couldn't say that I only talked about it in 22 minutes in all those years. Never could tell people I'd apologized before they ever sued me because I'm like, I'm not the Sandy Hook guy. I apologize. I think it happened. I was just playing devil's advocate. And both judges in Connecticut and Texas literally had the same list I couldn't say. And that's why when I did say, I'm in bankruptcy, she goes, shut it down, get the jury out, get off the stand, go sit down. And she goes, Mr. Jones, you're a liar. You're not bankrupt. You're not broke. And she goes, now, financial expert, and we could not respond, got up for a full day and said, this man, I've examined his books, never examined our books, is worth $400 million. I was millions in the hole then. Okay, millions in the hole then. And I'm like, here's my filed bankruptcy. The judge said, you're not entering that. And so again, whether you think I'm good or bad, folks, they murdered justice in a PR run operation. And then, I'm not supposed to get into this, but you weren't warm. You were white hot with what you said. They then got the text messages, and imagine whose text messages are on there. Innocuous stuff like, hey, let's get a steak. Hey, what's going on? Hey, man, come to the club tonight. And then there was a behind-the-scenes harassment operation that went on against somebody. So this is dragnet, just attack, go after whoever you can. It's unbelievable.
It's what they do to espionage, like people for espionage.
Yeah. So, and you know,
well, I'm ranting on that, but let me just throw this bookmark in and then I'll shut up, Jimmy. I knew this when Obama left office in the John Warren Defense Authorization Act 2017. His last act, major act, was to sign the defense authorization. He got $2 billion in there to set up the Office of Countering Foreign Disinformation Propaganda Act, which then started the Trump's a Russian agent, and now we can spy on his whole operation, and we can get General Flynn because he's a communist. And then now they admit with the weaponization hearings, off of that wheel, at the middle of that wheel, they built the spokes of the censorship, the surveillance, the FBI, the CIA, coordinating all the censorship. That's all admitted. I knew that. This would get no news coverage. I remember right when I was deplatformed 4 years ago, watching the House Armed Services Committee meeting where they had the Pentagon's experts saying, Mr. Jones is a Russian disinformation agent. We're tracking him, and we're now working with big tech and AI to block his Russian influence. I have the clip. So what I'm saying is exactly what your co-host just said is that is what I was, and we know a 3-letter agency used law firms. The top Democrat law firms in the country ran this. Law firms, PR firms, but it was the Justice Department. Listen to this, in my bankruptcy, and they were done up to send an email. This is a year ago. The Justice Department sent an email to my famous bankruptcy lawyer here, well-known, super respected, done some of the biggest bankruptcies in the country for like chemical giants, and says, Mr. Jones will not be afforded the bankruptcy system. This is a hurdle he will not get across. And then the Justice Department came into the case, and when I'm in these depositions, they have 1 to 2 federal agents in the room hoping to find something. And I've been so transparent, so real, all the bookkeeping checked out, everything was true. Remember all the headlines? Alex Jones has got secret accounts. Alex Jones has offshore accounts. Alex Jones has hundreds of millions of dollars. You can go to Bloomberg. I was actually covering it today. You can go to the Connecticut News. Alex Jones is broke, sold his car and his guns and his, basically wife's jewelry. I am $3 million in the hole right now. You can read them. Here's the headline. Alex Jones is broke and selling his stuff. Here's how he got there. Bloomberg. Alex Jones gets green light to sell his guns and cars. Bloomberg. They now admit that I'm $3 million in the hole. So again, I have under penalty of perjury all this. So now they flipped from, we were wrong, he didn't hide $400 million to, sorry. They also sued my dad, my mom, my family. My dad spent his whole savings, who was a dentist for 49 years. My dad has no money, can't even pay his property taxes. My dad spent $1.5 million in the last couple, and they think it's funny. They think it's funny claiming my dad had hidden money. I know I'm ranting. I'm going to shut up now.
So, and the reason why, so I had said that, first they come for Alex Jones, and then they're going to come for us. If you're doing independent news and you're speaking against the wars, they're going to come for us. And so that's why you have to stand up right now. And of course, nobody at the Young Turks will ever go against the wars. They're always for the wars. They're always for whatever the establishment wants, whether it's smearing Julian Assange or pushing Russiagate hoax or COVID lockdowns and demeaning ivermectin and lying about that. They're all for all of it. So that's why they didn't care that you got banned, because they're never ever going to go against the establishment.
Well, they're given talking points. I can tell. Nobody gives you talking points. Nobody gives me talking points. And that's why they don't like us, is because that's why they don't like Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan says exactly what he really thinks. And they don't like authenticity, but the people like it. So yeah, you were big back at the time you defended me. You were big. You're gigantic now. So it's kind of fair what Tucker said is no huge show defended Jones. No show he heard of.
So what, it went from you, and then it immediately went to journalists, and then it went to leading journalists, then it went to the leading doctors and scientists in their field, and then it went to the former president of the United States. They banned everybody. So it wasn't just Alex Jones. They banned anybody and everybody, including anybody who had any counter narrative to the establishment narrative around war, around COVID, around lockdowns, around January 6th, around anything. Anybody who had anything to say that the CIA, the FBI, and the establishment didn't want them to say, they banned, they censored, and they discredited. And I've firsthand have knowledge of that.
You know what? One of the first bullshit testing on who we can do this to was Gamergate. There's people that work in real journalism that to this day still bring that up like that was a real thing. And it was the exact same kind of bullshit. I had the whole media do it to me for a week. Mm-hmm. Charlie Rose, I'll never forget that tweeting at me. Then he got Me Too'd later, that piece of shit. Yeah. Hilarious.
Come see us do a live stand-up show. We'll be in Venice, California, Palmdale, California, Omaha, Des Moines, Milwaukee, Lansing, Bend, Oregon, Portland, Oregon, Seattle, Washington, Boston, Massachusetts, and we're going to Europe. Do you live in Europe? We're going to be there. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for all those tickets.